James Loves with Bride Star Church, Evening the World Out in Love. The name of this one's called Chastity. Now we're going to get into the psychology of the well of relational freedom regarding the sexually active children and the chaste children. And we're going to really break it down for y'all. Of course, that's exactly what a church does, is it deals with the veil of things. Um, And so I'm going to be going back and forth between the ones that are sexually active and the ones that are not, outside of the veil, in the veil type of aspect. Adults, it's a little easier. That's why the laws have been set up in its way, so they wouldn't have the premature rise star. Uh, but of course, with the children, and especially the haremized organizations with their haremized children affecting yours, is definitely what we're digging out, making sure they're around a well, and at the a very simple thing. There should be. I mean, there was divisions in schools as there was. As anything else, but I'll just make it really real for you. That's really what the division was all about, anyway. So, you know, right now we should definitely have. There should be well, these are all in the Vale Children's School, and these are all outside of it, type of thing going on, or at least with classrooms and such. So we need to make sure that the division is very clear between those that are chaste, getting the foundation down, or willful desire when to enter a veil, and those that are already in it, or what have you. So, um, now the psychology of things, what's this going to clear up everywhere else? Well, we've already made it very clear. Um, and there's a couple things in society that, like, I'm going to make sure my girl isn't like I was when I snuck off and with my from my parents. I told them like 10, 15 years later. It's the usual story you hear. Like, and then all of a sudden they find out, like, oh, well, I just tell them be safe now. After I found out I was cheated on by my daughter and stuff. You know, it's the usual stuff. Well, this is not going to go on anymore. Seriously. So, and that's why we have, and what better than even ones that are attracted to your little ones. What even better to have them helping in the process, that they're divided from the ones that do and the ones that don't. And that really goes with this, um, the medical aspect, putting him in a hospital. It wasn't for marriage. That goes with why he wasn't doing it for marriage or whatever. It could be a prison sentence. You only had to go around a well. And if you organize with the right agencies, any which way, then they should be funneling them here anyway. So it makes it clean. And really, what we're getting, the aspect is that chastity, that real, that education of uh, the securities, the games, um, that foundation of will, and not in a like a dictating, protect her manner, telling her what her will is, and thus, next thing you know, they didn't go to that little slumber party they were talking in the range with you about, you know, that sort of thing. We're getting down the right time to go, hey, this obviously is going to happen. We got this one agency, or we'll take you ourselves, and we'll go uh, to the well. Now, in this aspect, also, there's as expressed in there, what happened before was, a big old chaste thing, the little afraid of population control and like popping out babies and this and that, and people, you know, there was like explained, there was the like hallway of the people trying to keep them back from personal loving relationships, so they can make it really hard. It's that reverse magnetism type thing to keep them separate. So you can have them focus on going down the hallway, get to the other side. Maybe they'll won't work as hard on the next one to try to meet somebody type of deal. Now, of course, you'd have this focus for your kids if there's like education, there's extracurricular activities, dance and sports and different things of that nature, which is totally beautiful. And that was the benefit of how that worked before. But as they know, and as they will give you, it was a gamble in itself. It was, well, either they get focused on what they're doing or they're just crushed. They lose their dream, they lose their motivation on anything, and it spirals into a depression type aspect of things. They were gambling 50-50 on it anyway, keeping them separated and not according to loving relationships. So here, let me help you out. It's the same way as the the uh, the older, matured businesswoman that's had her fill in relationships through her life, and she's really working on her business or her focus of things. And you know, she comes around on her scheduled times to do her offerings at a church for a holy matter to find whoever and have it last whatever for her vacation time in between and such, so she can get back to work and focus on what she needs to, or who knows, maybe find the one that's just as focused as she, so it could just be no wasted time, just like we're dividing from the fake and the real. So it's really the same aspect. I think it applies even more as a child, whether it was premature from some incident or just the cultural grooming and the people that they are around or what have you. They, you have much schooling, much growth to do, and much opportunity for some sports things or whatever the case may be. You want the focus. Well, instead of the usual gamble of just burn them out on anything to keep them focused, that could end in the tragic ones that just lose all faith in everything and say, forget it. Don't want any of it anymore then. It's nothing worth it. It's the same aspect as the like, well, you got a lot of life ahead of you, you got a lot of relationships. And like I've said many times, some of these relationships, they don't know what they want in a relationship until they go through a bunch of what they don't want. And so this is a perfect way, especially since Rise Star Church travels, that they could come on down, and according to however you work out willful with the person, they won't get Tweedledum, won't get with Tweedledee and spoil that focus. They won't get burnt out. They can experience what they need to experience with no string attached or whatever wheeled string attached that works with that focus, but scheduled offerings through the years. Now, in this aspect, you're also going to notice the psychology of things with, like I just expressed, like, oh, I hope she doesn't turn out like me. And then you find out 15 years later, all this stuff of those little parties she did was not with a party. It was with Tweedledum, you know? And At the same time, now he's old enough with all these disaster relationships. So I could have helped you with that if you're. And that's exactly how the mini date was created, and on the way up to, like I said, the yearly, bi-yearly, quarterly, whatever arrangement that you make according to your sphere, that you're going to notice the conversations that they didn't have through the generation before when there was problems with your stuff. And thus, not only are you going to have relationships, just because we all know if you just talk about relationships and you're not talking about the physical form of loving relationship, it could become a little more fakey and not really apply what they said. So whatever answer they're going to say and try to apply, it's really not going to count anyway. But you're going to see that aspect, especially when if they're young, growing up to spy, through dealing with their stuff, through the faux fourness thing, and then whenever Rise Star is, they still have that focus, but they have the offerings when they go, and you that those relationships will be expanded when you're talking to your 10 to 16-year-old daughter about sex details and how me and your father do it and what we do for each other and such, whatever, in better educating on what you should be part of anything. So there is no problems. Um, in this format, I'd like to say that we need independence. And up until about this point, you probably would have got the same pressures the Rystad Church has gotten through the years. Um, but now is definitely a good time if you've always been part of that little program and luring, and you really are starting to understand the haremizing thing, the division in love and weaponizing part of it, and them judging who they'll destroy with the same kind of way that they get it with the people that they're secretly haremized with. If we're just done with that stuff, then get on out of there. Because you, like I said, this could be exactly according to your family, your little one. Getting out of that faux fourness thing. We're making problems with the rest of us Americans type of thing. When it's just the love, the issue of that Rise Star time when they discover that weaponized thing, now that we cut off the problem with anybody else, was just to hold them back until they could get the proper foundation and realize that it is just love, and they need to, like a puzzle piece, find the right pieces. Even with some of the wrong ones, they find that right piece to understand how to help others find it, which is the whole coupling economy, the the organizational gambling uh, of the salvation works, the focus of the coupling economy in itself. So, yeah, get on out of there. Haremized, weaponizing. It's not just about the kids' chastity. Then get on out because you're over 12. Figure it out. No more terrorism. Um, and so what else can we psychologically talk about this? Um, so any which way, with that aspect, it's reverting back to the chastity part. You're we're going to keep them separate, and that education, especially when they're all talking about it, it's not haremized. Really, the any of the haremized nowadays is going to be completely chaste. There's not going to be this rape format of love thing to or fear and hate instilling things to keep those out. That would generally just be going according to heart, because no one should, you don't see people looking for someone to love in a war situation. You're on the battlefield. It's a little unnatural. You see what I mean? So any which way, um, keep that, and it's going to keep that education going with those on how they need to talk with the little spies dealing with their phone. This and their weaponized form of love, as keeping it hollowed about how their trips to the the altars and such. So um, then we won't have the other ones affecting them. Now, of course, some of the states are catching on. Of course, they're a little slow in the dictator areas of the country, but when it comes down to it, the third party, it's just really all education until there was the agreement if you're not sure of an area. And any which way, um, uh, I would say, and if you're worried about the haremizing type thing, it's just all indirect, different such. There's tests you can do, and there's really only one test you can really perform with a haremized aspect of things. You do the regular lure into a spy, into a spot, you know, and then you push. And if you have if you're kind of working at a will anyway, and you're like, some pants come down and then there's no saying of no, you can clearly see that there's some haremized thing going on, and they were learning it for somebody anyway. So any which way, you could do this in your own organization, but um, soon, actually, uh, sometimes right now, a third party's going to go ahead and take care of that anyway, and they're going to, but of course it could lead to that time that they decide to have their time in the veil. So, um, and the any which way, the education is the most important, anyways. With the sex excluded, um, if it doesn't go that far, it's really the lead up that's the most important. The children coming in green, having to deal with the faux fourness. Oh geez, they come in herds, type of thing. I'm gonna do the usual deal. I'm chasing. I'm helping them with the focus for a moment, but if they're running on out, you could say they need that approach. It's in the law. It's in the half an hour. It's in the 500 feet. So on the way out of that, with some approaches like loving manner, because they're working with games, kind of funneling them just to them so they can make sure how people would pull heartstrings in that education. That needs to be uh, helped. And of course, if that family or that organization thinks one is really strong in the foundation and their willful decision of things, well, it's going to be really clear when if the talking is progressed and they're educated on how their weaponized love was not really for enemies, because it's love. And especially in the spot that they brought them to, it's not possible for it to be weaponized. It was only for their chastity until they learned that that was love and decided when to go into that full expression of that love, and when on how they could help other people have that safe correlation with what willful decision between two individuals to do according to that love. And so um, it's not, as us more mature and more understanding of the system, it's not extorting people by the hate and fear of a projection of something they're hiding in that way anyway, when it's only about the kids, the chastity and that education to learn how to protect themselves in a way and learn how to uh, be reassured, have some security with the security measures we have in place already, and how to deal with somebody that you don't want to deal that far with and such. So, um, and of course, in that aspect, especially if they applied to the protect her thing message I gave earlier, or if they've actually destroyed people, or that's what they're a bunch of adults with the kid acting like they're under 12, looking for problems and terrorists in people in America. And we got all the focus of cameras and gambling, and to educate ourselves on how to deal better with helping people find their life. They want society to foe in themselves, and and that's what I'm talking about. No one's going to want to at that point hang with or want to be with anybody that was just wanted to make them an enemy of people instead of help them in the process of, okay, I just needed to look at it like an enemy until I learned a few things and then learned how to help people with the same thing I was dealing with and such. So then, of course, it could turn into her lovely fantasy. Any which way, um, this is some of the psychology involved. I think I covered everything I need to cover right now. The main thing is that organization of those that are sexually active, which will help with the not affecting the ones that aren't, and to understand in that placement around a well in green, that means any which way you're approaching to with the focus of it might actually lead to making love. So, and any which way, it's going to help in that chastity aspect according to their perception at the time. Get busy, find love, uh, apply the other pages that can apply everywhere in the world, not around the main priest here. And let's help people with this fake stuff and help people deal with the reality of evening the world out in love. Physical the same as emotional. No problems here. God bless. Thank you, Rise Star Church. Be chaste if you like.